If a space doesn't open up a bit later on, then we'll try and go and have a look. But I always find it just slightly disappointing, you know, when we go in there, we get 5 minutes, and then we must pull out again. So I'd rather just keep looking for other things at the moment, and then when we can spend a decent time with our pal Tingana, we'll go in there. No sign of Shadow or her cubby here. Alrighty, let's head across to Tayla while I decide what I'm going to do. I'm not sure where she is, how far she's walked, if she's tired, if she's not tired, and how the burn on her leg is doing under the sufferance of this walk.
Here we go. Now you all know what happened to me. I got bitten by a motorcycle while riding one, and then, well, I tried to get off and it was a bit heavy. That was a bit of a disaster. It burnt me through my jeans. So yes, I learnt my lesson. I have a second-degree burn on my leg and I have to keep it covered for 2 weeks. So we shall see how that heals. But what you were looking at just a moment ago was, well, the casing of what once was a caterpillar. And I'm not sure what species it is. There's so many different species that lay their sort of eggs on grasses. It could be a yellow, it could be one of the browns, it could be a number of different ones over here. But it is really cool, and this is all we're going to be seeing is either dying butterflies, like we just saw a moment ago, or just the chrysalis, or what's left of it, really. But everything is so dry now, the grasses are all drying out, a little bit of green growth, but not too much. Actually, these look nice. I think I've noticed the most is sort of the gap between the boundary roads and the fire breaks are looking really lovely at the moment, which is good, and it will provide lots of nice grazing. Now, we're walking on Gowrie Main at the moment, and we're following male leopard tracks. Now, you might be able to see them, David, can you see them all the way down here? Let's see if we can show you from this side and see if you can spot the leopard tracks going up on the road just on the right hand side. So there they are. They're very faint. And they continue going down. Now, we're not sure whose they're from. They could be either Tingana's or Hosana's. I think it'll be interesting to find out where Tingana actually is, because to me these big leopard tracks will look like a big male. And I know Hosana is a monster of a leopard, even though he is so young, and he's got very, very big paws. However, I think his tracks are going to be slightly smaller. Look at this. Look at that, compared to my hand. That's not a small leopard track. And Tingana's a big boy too. He's got big feet. So I think Hosana's got a little bit of growing to do still. And also, Tingana was spotted east of the Mulwanini yesterday afternoon. So it only makes sense that this is one of his routes that he walks. He normally either goes up Cheetah Cut Line or he'll come straight along the main road, which I think is what he's done. But what we will check now is we're getting to a little bush willow that's overhanging on the road, which would be the perfect spot for a leopard to mark its territory. So let's go and have a look and see if this leopard did mark there. I know Hosana is just starting to mark too. He'll get there. Right, let's see here. Now the tracks go. I want to see exactly. This is a bit hard, it's a bit difficult, but yeah, now here they are. And there's a slight twist in this track, sort of doing that. So probably turning, lifting up his tail, spraying some urine. If we look carefully, we may even see where the urine went. Let's have a look. Yeah, here we go, look here. If you look very carefully, it's not very wet. So this was obviously done late last night. Can you see the different color of the green? Yeah. So that would be urine, and it's not, a bit sticky still, but not wet to the touch. So this is probably from last night, late last night, and it's now dried. Very cool though. Here, actually, here's better. Oh, here we go. Here's wet still. So that must have just been a little bit. Here we go. Here's actually where he mainly sprayed. Look at all that. Very interesting. So that's actually a lot wetter. You still see it's dripping. Maybe not as late as we think. Okay, that's very interesting. Now, Brenda, you were wondering, well, you've said that Tingana seems to be sort of moving quite far south these days, and you're wondering if it's because he's perhaps looking for Karula. I'm not sure. I don't think it's because of that reason. I think what's happening at the moment is Tingana's got a bit of a fright. And I said this before we left, that something was brewing up and he was going to have an argument with somebody. And we saw Quarantine. I think it was the last morning drive that I had before I went on holiday. We saw Quarantine with a scratch underneath his eye. So we know that he came in and he chased Quarantine back very far southeast where he belongs and out of his territory. We've got Mvula coming back in, sort of sneaking between Buffelshoek and Simbambili in the sort of northwestern corner of Djuma. So he's got a lot on his plate at the moment. There's all these young male leopards around. They're all trying to sneak in. You've got an old boy that's not really trying to do a takeover. He's just sort of popping through. I have to do this. This is a spider web. And so I think he just needs to sort of pick up his game. He needs to scent mark, he needs to declare his territories. Otherwise, these young boys are going to come in and push him out, and he is not very happy about that. And speaking of leopards, Tristan is on a roll today. He's managed to find one. Let's go and get an update on Thamba.
Well, little Tumber is still sleepy in his little thicket, and he's just watching the world go by. Every now and then there's some rutting impala in the distance that catch his attention when they shout away. But otherwise, he's quite interested in just watching us. You can see he's got his eyes on us every now and then, and he kind of turns and looks and sees what we're doing. He's had a few sort of a little bit, so I think it's that time of the day where he's thinking about having a really good nap. Like I say, I just can't get over how pretty this leopard is. And look at those yawn. There you go, you can see those extra canines now. And you're getting your big teeth, boy. You are starting to get quite big. You need those big teeth now, so it's time to drop out those milk teeth. Isn't he spectacular? And what I have noticed is just the size of his paws as well. So he's got his one paw that's kind of sticking out of the bush at the moment. And it actually doesn't look like his at all. So if you just go down to his feet, you'll see how big it is. It's really quite massive. I mean, look at that. It looks like a paw for an adult male leopard. It does not look like a paw for a cub. Absolutely massive. I think he's going to be a really big boy when he eventually grows into these paws and ears. He's going to be quite a specimen, that's for sure. And it's often the case with Tandi's cubs. She's always had these males that have massive ears, big paws, and they become really incredible specimens later. Unfortunately, Wabayiza, who was her first male cub, he didn't survive until a big adult. He was unfortunately killed by the Styx Pride, but I was fortunate enough to watch him for the first 2 years of his life, and he really was an impressive male by the time he kind of left Tandi and was on his own. He was a big boy, so I think Tumber is going to be no different. He's also going to really sort of stake a claim at some point, and wherever he ends up, I'm sure the ladies are going to be very impressed with him. But I just love how he's got such a curious nature as well. Ooh. So, Lauren, this is an interesting question actually, and I'm not sure what would happen, but Lauren, you're asking what would happen if Thamba, Shongile and Hosana ran into one another without the mothers. Well, I would probably find that I feel like Shongile and Hosana and this little one are all quite curious characters, so maybe they would kind of watch each other, but I think they would all be nervous. They all know that another leopard is a threat, so I think they would watch from a distance, but they would be quite intrigued at the presence of this other leopard. Now, Shongile was last seen last night, not even 500 meters from where we are now, so she could potentially be somewhere close by here. We don't know, and it would be interesting to see what would happen if she did run into Tumber. I suspect that they would probably run opposite directions just because they are still nervous. They know that they're much smaller animals and that there's territorial animals out here that they've got to be careful of. So I'd imagine they would spot another leopard and probably be very shy and slink off into the bush. But you never know. Hosana, he seems to just not care at all about other leopards. I've seen him a few times around Tingana, and he just really didn't seem to bother too much. But that was still in the days when Karula was with them a lot, so I'm not sure how he would be now and whether or not he would be a little bit more circumspect in his movement towards another leopard. So Sarah, all the way from Georgia in the United States, you're asking so what's the size comparison between Hyena and Tumber? Well, Tumber is still a lot smaller than Hyena. Just remember that Tumber is about 4 months younger than what Hyena is, and 4 months in a male leopard's life is quite a big difference. So he's smaller, definitely, but the size of his paws is probably almost very similar to what Hyenas are. So I think it will be interesting to see when he reaches the same age as Hyena what the sort of size comparison is. Also, I haven't seen Hyena in a while, so I'm sure Hyena's grown in the last sort of week since we've seen him. Well, I wonder if Tumber's got a little injury on his paw. He seems to be quite ginger on that front paw. Maybe he's gone to sleep from lying down for too long, but he was putting it down quite softly, and he seems like he's not putting too much weight on it. What's wrong, little boy? Have you been playing around too much and hurt yourself? No, it's not too much of a problem, because at this stage he is still with Mom, and Mom will still be feeding him, so he'll be alright. He'll be able to recover from that. Now I'm just going to position ourselves a little better, because there's a really nice gap where we'll be able to see him curled into a nice tight ball. So I'm just going to go forward slightly. Senzo, you're going to have to tell me when you got a nice gap there. But it should be good right here. There we go. So Senzo says that's good. But isn't that spectacular? There we go. That's a really nice view of him. And you can see he's curled himself up into a tight ball. I think it's time for a little nap for little Thamba. He's going to try and get his head down and have a nice sleep and wait for Mom to come back. But I wonder what's wrong. He seems to be very ginger on that front leg and walking with a bit of difficulty. So BB asking who might be his father. Well, Thandi is a funny one. She does move into odd areas. I know she's been seen in Mala Mala a few times, and she goes up into Torchwood, and she comes into Djuma, Little Gari, but in all likelihood his father is probably Tingana, but it could be Mvula was around, it could be Quarantine, although Quarantine was a bit young when this cub was born, so I don't think it would have been him. Shivambalana was around as well, but if I had to hedge my bet, it would be Tingana would be the father of this male, but it possibly could be sorry, I forgot now, Mvula as well. Mvula was still cruising around at that stage, so he might have, but I think Tingana is the only one. I'm just trying to think of who we saw mating with Thandi, but the only one I can think of is Tingana, to be honest. But you never know. If Thandi went deep into Torchwood, maybe Djuma as well, because Djuma hangs around that side. So who's to say? It's really difficult actually when it comes to paternity. And funnily enough, there's actually a study at the moment going on where they are taking excrement from these leopards, and they're analyzing the DNA to try and see if it's possible for multiple paternal DNA to be in a cub. So we'll see how the results from that comes out and where we are with that. Now I believe Tayla has found something very exciting and very rare, so let's go across to her and see what she's got.
So as you remember, unfortunately we keep finding butterflies that are on their way out, that have come to the end of their lifespan, but we found one that has recently just hatched from its chrysalis. Now you can see how it's moving its wings very slightly, and notice how bright it is in color compared to the other ones that were very dull. And here you can also see what I meant when I said that it looked like its antennae were wilting. See how sort of more upright they are, where the others were sort of flailing off to the side. Now it hasn't got much strength in its wings just yet, because it's really just come out of its chrysalis. Those wings are soft. You can see how pliable they are, and it will need to wait for the sun to come out so that it can start to dry its wings, so they harden, and then, well, of course, it can start its life as an adult butterfly. So I think that is quite cool. And if in case you come and have a look at this side, David, you can see the the chrysalis quite well. You can actually see what the larvae used to have a look like. And it's obviously faded quite a bit. Look at that. Let me move this one out of the way. Look at that. How cool is that? Beautiful, isn't it? Awesome. It's amazing how it's gone from being so little to being almost 4 times the size of, well, it was when it was a caterpillar. That's incredible. Now, on an overcast day like today, I'm actually not certain how long it's going to take for this butterfly's wings to harden, which is pretty amazing. And I'd love to see the process. I wish we should know what would be really amazing is if we could get small little time-lapse cameras. It's a bit difficult if you're using sort of the sports action cameras, you know, all the ones that I'm talking about, because you have to put sort of, especially at this angle, you need to tie it to a stick or something. But a time-lapse of that butterfly slowly gaining strength and opening its wings further and further until eventually that it takes off, I think would be quite nice. Now, there's something else I want to show you, David. You have to stand still. All right. You have to twist because I'm going behind you. Because David has got a friend on his leg. No! Come back! No! No, we're going to catch it. Ah, too quick. I almost had it though. It is a butterfly that's near the end of its lifespan, so I didn't feel too bad for holding on to it. But David had picked it up off a piece of grass as he was walking past and decided that it quite liked his gator a little bit. Let's keep walking. Now, as we're talking about butterflies and lifespans, Alicia, you were actually wondering, what is the average lifespan? Well, starting from an egg, it takes a couple of days for them to develop. They then hatch out. It's normally not more than about a week, I've noticed with most of the butterfly species. They hatch, they then eat and eat and eat and eat and double in size every single day for a few weeks, about 3 or 4 weeks, where they then go into a chrysalis. Some of them make cocoons underneath the ground or just off the piece of grass itself. And that process, depending on the species of butterfly, can vary to a few weeks as well. And then they hatch. I would say, for the acrias, I'd say about 3 or 4 weeks, probably the lifespan. Some are even shorter. Some insects only live for 2 weeks in their adult life. So it really just depends on the species of butterfly. I'm just trying to think. I haven't really read too much information about specific individuals and how long they live. However, I did just buy the most amazing butterfly book from Australia, and it looked like quite a new edition. So possibly they've gathered some information on their species of butterflies that they get, some of them not too different, and maybe we can bring that back and sort of incorporate it with ours, because they've got grass yellows. I don't think they get monarchs, but I definitely saw bush browns and blues and swallowtails and all sorts of things. Now there's a couple of actually monarchs flying around here. We'll see if we can get one settling down. But before James's creature flies off, let's go and take a look what he's found.
Fine. Hello everybody. I've decided to go to Tingana. All the vehicles have finished looking at him, 2 minutes each they've had, and so now we are going in and hopefully we'll have a bit more time with him. I'm just going to concentrate a little bit on finding our way there. And make sure that we don't miss Shadow and Cub as we drive through this area here, which of course is her favourite haunt. No, I'm not on my telephone, everybody. I'm not about to make a phone call. I'm just trying to figure out exactly where we need to be. And turn the radio up. Buff Skull South. I think he's quite a long way from where we are. Oh well, we'll just keep going. See if we get lucky. He's fast asleep now, apparently. So we might be lucky. That leopard, Tingana, has walked a quite astonishing distance over the last little while. And I actually had to ask them who they thought he was, because I just didn't believe that it could possibly be him. There's a huge vulture that is flown away. Sorry about that. And he's walked clean through Djuma. He's walked all the way through Torchwood, down into Chitwa, all the way across, back up into Djuma, then all the way west here into Arathusa, and now he seems to be heading all the way north into Simbambili. So it really is very difficult to understand what he's doing or why he's moving around like that. So perhaps he feels some sense of threat to his territory. That certainly won't be from the likes of Hosanna, but maybe the Anderson male's been around here. Maybe there's another male that's been around here. There's a vulture. Same vulture, just catching a little bit of the morning light there. Very pleasant little shot there. Just a small slice of sunshine coming through, and he's found it and he's sitting on it now. Isn't that nice? That is a white-backed vulture. And in the background, the pearl-spotted owlet. Alrighty, I think let's carry on, just in case this leopard does get going again. Apparently he is fast asleep. James, you say what is the largest bird species? Well, the largest bird species is an ostrich. They weigh up to 100 kilograms sometimes. There are another 2 vultures up top there. That is interesting. Now, if I didn't know that there was a vulture's nest somewhere around here, I would be suspicious that there was a kill or some form of dead thing here. But I think what you'll find is that they're here because there's a nest not far from here, and one of these will be a juvenile. Alrighty, let's carry on. Just consult my map. I'm pretty sure that I'm going the right way. Yes, we need to swing a right over here. There we go, over this little bump, which has been constructed by somebody without care for the vertebra of guest or cameraman. We're still a little way off, so we're going to keep going at quite a speed. Well, not too far off. Probably about 3 minutes. Let's keep going at this speed, and we should make it in 3 minutes or so, unless of course we find something else utterly fascinating on the way. This would be another road to the right now, which we will not take. Of course, the radio is just slightly difficult to hear what's going on. It's a rather complicated network of things here. Alright, Tristan is still with Thamba, possibly the offspring of Tingana. I will try and get into the sighting, and you will see me there next, hopefully.
Well, hopefully you come right there, James. It's astounding to know how far Tingana has walked in the last, if we take the last 24 hours, well, not 24 hours, let's say 36 hours. It is really quite incredible. He's gone a lap from Chitwa all the way through Djuma into Torchwood, Buffalo's Hook area, southwards towards Nkoro, then back towards Chitwa, and now all the way towards Arathusa. So he's done a massive circuit. It really is on a serious mission at the moment, and I think it's because of all these young males that we've got hanging around. So He's got Djuma to the north of him. He's got Anderson to the west. There's been Kunuma seen a few times down in the south. There's Quarantine to the southeast. Shivambalana's been around as well. So it's a number of young males that are in his area, and that's maybe why he's moving around so much, checking what's going on and making sure that there's none around. Now, it seems like little Tumber is missing some fur there. I wonder what's happened to you. What have you done to yourself? It seems like there's 2 little marks there, and you can see it, little grey spots in amongst the fur itself. So I wonder if maybe he didn't get a little cut or something. Often you find it with young male leopards is because they climb, well, not male leopards, any young leopard, they climb all over the place and they're clumsy and they fall out and they end up then getting situations like that. His mom is also quite aggressive, so he might get a few claws from mom every now and then as well. And I would imagine he would love to claw those flies that are flying around his face. So, Mercedes, you're asking what the difference between a leopard and a cheetah spot is. Well, I think the best way to do this is to show you. So I'm going to just try and get my book out. So while we look at Tumber there, let me get my book out so long, and I can then show you the difference between the leopard and the cheetah. But essentially the main difference is that a leopard spot is more what we call a rosette, which means it's almost like a spot that has broken apart, or sort of looks like it's exploded and forms the sort of creamy center with the spots on the outside. Now I'm going to try and find, there we go, that's the picture I was looking for. So here we go, Senzo, if you want to put it up, and then I can show everybody the difference between the two. Right, so on the left hand side over here we have the cheetah. So there we go. So you see the cheetah is a really sort of polka dotted pattern. So it's a very solid, very round, very neat little spot that they have. And then you've got the leopard on this side, which you see the spot almost looks like it's been exploded from the middle. So it's got these little lines on the edges with this gold center to it. So this is what's called a rosette, and this is a spot. Now, in terms of the facial structure, while we are on the differences between cheetah and leopard, and I've got it open here, if we go up slightly, there you can see the differences between a cheetah and a leopard in terms of its face. You see the cheetah has much smaller, rounder ears. They then have that small, round head with the tear drops coming down from the eyes, so those black markings that run along the muzzle down from the eyes. And whereas the leopard, you'll find, doesn't have that. It has more white underneath the eyes. Now, the reason for those two differences in terms of the color close to the eye pattern is that the cheetah is more active during the day, so those darker lines just help to reduce glare, whereas the leopard is more active at night, so it needs the white under the eye to help bring light into the eye to see what's going on at night. You can also see the leopard has a much bulkier face, tends to be a lot more square in comparison to the cheetah, and slightly longer ears than what the cheetah does. The cheetah relies heavily on its eyesight. It spends its time mostly in big open areas where it can see really well, whereas the leopard is more in thickets, so that slightly bigger ear helps with being able to hear what's going on in these thickets. So there we go, that's the two animals. In terms of the bodies, they're also quite different. The cheetah is a lot more sort of slender, taller animal, whereas the leopard is stocky and stoutly built. And again, it's because the cheetah is built for speed. It's got these long legs and a flexible spine that it's able to then get up to speeds of 120 kilometers an hour, whereas the leopard is built for power. Oh, we've got some birds visiting Thamba. Now I wonder how he's going to react to these helmet shrikes. So we've got some white-crested helmet shrikes that are there. And look at them. Don't they look like Albert Einstein? So to me, they look like Albert Einstein. I have no idea why. Maybe it's just the fluffy head. And I wonder what Tumber is going to do, because they're not far from him and they're busy chirping away. I'm surprised he actually hasn't woken up and had a look at them. And if we come out of it, there you go. You can see the one sitting just above Tumber's head there. So that's quite amazing. And I'm surprised he's not even batting an eyelid. He hasn't opened his eyes at all. I wonder if these guys... Oh, there we go. They've spotted the leopard and now flown away. Tumber, you were a little bit too fast asleep, my boy. Now, funny enough, a leopard will potentially take a bird of that size. I know it's not a very big meal, but when you're a leopard and you're young and you're learning to hunt, that's often what they learn on. And so those kind of birds are perfect size meals for a leopard of this size. So he will start practicing, but I think he's just unfortunately a bit sleepy now. Now, talking of birds, I believe Tayla's got a bird, so let's quickly go across before it flies away.
We just had a go-away bird drinking a couple of meters away from us at one of the little mud wallows, but it has now flown away. David, can you still see it hopping in the tree? It is now hopping in a marula after it has quenched its thirst on some lovely mud water, which is delicious. And you can have it at any temperature too. It doesn't matter if it's cold or room temperature or boiling hot from the sun. The animals will drink it and love it. Not you and I though, hey David, or Herbie. We'd prefer not to drink this water unless your name is Steph. Then you crave it to drink sock water. Dirty mud, hippo and buffalo and elephant, then filtered through a sock water. Very tasty and delicious. I think Steph could maybe have something. Probably could charge a fortune for a cup of it, you know, who knows, especially if it's come from his sock. But we're standing at some of the drying up mud wallows. Now, every now and then, can you see the frog swimming? Just over there? See how it's swimming around? There's a little brown thing that's just moving. If I go there, it's going to go away. It's just putting its head up the top of the water. So do you see where that boatman is going? Yeah. Have you got it? Oh, sorry, I can't see what you're seeing. Okay, there's a frog. It looks like a frog. Or was it a beetle? What are you? Show yourselves. Now, I don't know. It's swimming with legs, sort of doing the breaststroke swim. What do you think, David?
I think it's a froggy.
Do you think it's a little froggy? Now, there could be many different types of frogs because we have seen, well, the African bullfrogs in these puddles. We have seen sand frogs. I don't think it's a sand frog, though. It looks too dark in colour. It could be one of the grass frogs. There could be a number of possibilities. Now, I'm hoping it's going to pop its nose out on the top of out of the surface of the water so we can get a screenshot of it. Is it a frog or is it a beetle? Like a massive beetle. Now I'm doubting myself. Now I want to catch it, but I know if I go there, I'm going to get stuck in that mud. David, what do you think? Frog? What do you think? Ladies in final control, what do you think that is? Is it a frog or is it a beetle? See, I just can't see a head. It looks like a carapace of some sort. Now, you do get massive beetles that live in the water too. I don't know what they're called. They sort of look like water striders. I'm trying to edge a bit closer. Oh! Now there's a guess coming in. Maybe a tiny terrapin? I don't know. It's a difficult one. It could be. It just doesn't want to sort of reveal itself enough so we can properly identify it. We're basically just seeing a dark shadow swimming under the murky brown water. And it's sort of impressive that it keeps coming up to the surface even though we're here. But it is now disappeared. Come back, please, so we can identify you. It's going to bother me. This is where I think when we do walks, we should carry one of our wonderful homemade nets that we created for World Frog Day. You'll remember those. I think that would work. I don't know. I think it could be a frog, actually. Just because it keeps coming up. A terrapin, you know, when they poke their heads to the surface. No, I don't know. I don't know. That's my answer. It is an I don't know swimming around in there underneath the murky water. But whatever it is, it's very tiny. It's probably only about that big. It's a mystery. The Loch Ness Monster of the Mud Wallow on Shibamo. What do you think? Okay, well, let's carry on from our mysterious friend who has now disappeared. Now, we're actually quite lucky, because as we come into winter, it's going to be lots of fun walking in an area like this. It'll probably be a spot that we will avoid because I'm sure there are going to be lots of buffalo sitting in these sorts of things. Something has caught my attention. What has caught my attention? So we're going to have to avoid here, especially with there not being much cover to hide behind. Now, I don't know what that is. It could be a spider's sack of some sort. Look at that tiny little frog. Can you see it there, David?
So, just have a look on the screen. Yeah.
That is tiny, teeny, tiny, tiny. Look how small it is compared to my finger. I'm going to put my finger there and I'm hoping that it's not going to jump away. This is my little finger. Look at that. That's crazy, hey? So this is the water lily frog. Remember the only frog that we could find on World Frog Day? This is it. This is that teeny tiny little one. It's quite green in color. At the moment you can see it's looking quite light in color, and that's just because normally of the thermoregulation, so it'll actually be reflecting the light. That is so cool. I want to see if I can get a a better view for you. Don't jump. Please don't jump. Look at that. Oh, hang on. Maybe it's a golden leaf folding frog. Can somebody very kindly please send through, go onto the interweb and search golden leaf folding frog and water lily frog? I've never seen a golden leaf folding frog in real life before. This could be a first for me, and we have heard them calling here. Remember, just before I went on holiday, we kept trying desperately at these pans to find one. I think that's exactly what it is. I've changed my mind. I think I'm going to go with golden leaf folding frog, and that is incredible. If it is, there's another one. Look, David, they're everywhere. Can you see this one down here? Look at that. So 2 of them. It's amazing what happens when you get down on your hands and knees out here in the bush and you just stare into a shrub. Everything that once was sort of camouflaged beautifully, then of course starts to reveal itself. That's incredible. That is so beautiful. Just sitting on the edge of the leaf there. Then of course this will be mainly its natural coloration if it isn't the water lily frog. But we'll have to just confirm. But I forgot about the dear old leaf folding frog, and they're tiny. Both of them are really, really small, only a couple of centimeters big. That one's probably only about 2.5 centimeters, maybe 3 centimeters, if that. So pretty small, as you saw, in comparison to my hand. Oh, there's another one! Another one even down there on the edge. They're everywhere. This is really amazing. Now, I was very silly. I should have just got off the car when I was looking for them on my last cycle. That would have been the easier option. They're all popping out everywhere. Let's see if we can get any other frogs. And what I was going to say was watch carefully as I approach this long grass, because often the little frogs will come and rest in between. Oh. Nancy, you said that it does look like a golden leaf folding frog. Thank you for confirming that. Obviously, I don't have a frog book with me, so it's a little bit difficult to on-the-spot check. That's why it's so nice when you are driving around, because you can just fill your camera box or a big box filled with all the books that you need and go through it. So, Nancy, thank you so much for helping me out over there. And remember, if you do see anything, or if we do need any help, hashtag Safari Live with perhaps pictures, or even start a gallery and keep this. So if we need something to refer to again next time, we've got the golden leaf folding frog. Now that's very, very exciting. I'm so happy I can finally tick it off my list. Not only did I get to hear them, I've now finally got to see one, and so close. Now, speaking of getting up close and personal with the animals, Tristan is still with Tumber. I wonder if he's still curled up in a little ball.
He is indeed, Tayla. He's about as curled up as possible. I don't think you could get any more curled than what he is right now. So he's still fast asleep, and nothing's really come along to disturb him. So I suppose he's found himself the perfect place. And even if the sun comes out, he's got a beautiful big Tumberty thicket that is shading him, and so he'll have more than enough shade. So there we go. You can see the Tumberties there, and they'll be perfect foil for his morning of rest. Now, I'm very happy for Tayla if she finally found herself a golden leaf folding frog. I know that she was telling me when we had the frogs out and we were doing quite a bit of frogging around Frog Day, and just before that when we had the first rains, that she had never seen one. So I'm glad that she's gotten to finally see one. They are pretty little frogs, and that water lily frog is really quite special as well. I really like those water lily frogs. It's a really nice find. So well done, Tayla. It's very, very good. It's amazing actually that we're still seeing so many frogs around, given that it's starting to dry up and it's getting quite chilly now. Generally the frogs start to go into a state of estivation where they'll spend a little bit of time around, well, getting into muddy cracks and trying to stay out of the cold water. Otherwise they get a little bit too cold, and it's really not easy for them to survive. Now, I think what we're going to probably do is shortly leave Thamba, because I don't think he's going to get up to too much, and there's no sort of alarm calls anywhere nearby to suggest that maybe Tundi is around. So I think probably the best bet for us is that we start moving on. And I would like to go towards Chitwa Dam and see what activity is going on there. It really is a beautiful place at this time of the morning. You often get lots of birds around, and the animals will slowly be coming down. Now that the sun is just starting to come out, you can see it's starting to get quite bright on the bonnet there, but the sun is just starting to peek through the clouds, and so I'd imagine some of the animals are going to start coming towards the dam for a drink. So I'm going to go check around there, and maybe we will get lucky and bump into Tundi on our way. And while we do that, let's go across to James, who I think is still searching for Tingana, and I hope that he'll come right. Be good reward for all the effort that James has put in this morning. So let's see how he's doing.
Well, yes, I am searching for Tingana. I'm afraid he's either moved from where they said he was, or I have misunderstood where they said he was. They left him unattended, apparently with a really poor view. Anyway, so we saw an elephant. You know, let's go and look for the leopard first, and then we'll come back to the elephant if we can't find the leopard. There's a kudu. Can you believe it? Sebastian, our cup runneth over. We've actually got an animal to show to people. Hallelujah. A beautiful kudu bull, even though he is showing no desire to look at us. Ooh, that's a rather strange and interesting motion he's making. He's obviously shaking loose his bowels, and now he will relieve himself. Will you? I'm constipated. Now you might think it a little rude of me to ask if a kudu is constipated or not, but it's actually quite a good question. Because a kudu can become constipated quite easily during a drought if it eats too much in the way of tannin-rich leaves. They will stop up the gut in much the same way as you if you're feeling, well, shall we say, unconstipated. You might drink black tea in order to kind of slow things up slightly. That's happened to kudus. That chap's clearly been eating too many combretum leaves. Anyway, so we went back to where the elephants were, thinking we'll try and show them. Well, they would naturally have disappeared. So now we are driving along the great Marakeni drainage line in search of whatever thing deigns to show itself to us. Tingana may well have been heading in this direction. In fact, I think he was. But he may have got tired and decided to have a sleep, because he has walked so very far in the last few days. Thankfully, Tumber has rescued the day as far as cats go. I think I saw Tingana in this tree the very first day that I got here. I think Brent, yeah, I did. Brent brought Tara, Dales and I out here to have a look, just to show us round a bit. That was, of course, about 1 year and 11 months ago to the day. Apparently the signal is not very good. And so we're going to sit here now. How wonderful. Okay, well, let's see what we can find around here. Right, in fact I know exactly what I'll show you. We've got some red spike thorn here, and if ever you have the problem that that kudu had, well, the opposite problem, in other words, a bit of deli belly perhaps, this is an excellent tree to use because it has got a huge amount of tannin in it, and it is used extensively out here by the local people who have got deli belly. Obviously it's not deli belly, it's kulu belly. I do not have deli belly, and so I'm not going to eat it. It's disgusting. It's so bitter you can't believe it. Here, a lovely, lovely web of the tropical tent web spider. Can you see at all? And I just wanted to show something of this, just a little bit, and that is that we've got the egg sacs there, and these egg sacs have just started appearing. I found a few yesterday amongst the tropical tent web spiders, and I think that it's obviously breeding season for them, and I suspect that's because we're going towards the winter time when the adults will probably die. I suspect they only last a season, and then the eggs will stay in these egg sacs. They'll either drop to the ground or they'll hang suspended amongst the silk here and then hatch later on, perhaps when the next rains start. Good. What else can we show you around here? Anything else around here? Not really. Some quillias flying by, that sort of thing. Alice, I think we're going to have to move from here. Otherwise everyone's going to go to sleep. Right, good. We can go across to Tayla. She has some signal.
I'm very sad at the moment. I fear that our guarri bush doesn't really have much use for, well, it's not as useful as what it was a couple of weeks ago with all the flies, which makes me a bit sad because I quite enjoyed beating the flies off of myself, and also whoever was my cameraman. It was also quite fun. Oh, whoops. Sorry, David, there was a fly on your leg, you know, gives you a good excuse to use as a whip. So, just because I always fiddle, and I normally need to find, or need to play with something, whether it's a piece of grass, I shall carry a little guarri bush, just in memory of how wonderful and how useful this tree actually is. Now, we've obviously since moved off our little mud wallow. I was desperately trying to get a picture of my own, which I failed miserably at, so hopefully some of you got some good screenshots of that golden leaf folding frog, seeing as though it was the first ones I've ever seen, and it was nice, not just one. I ended up finding about 4 that were on the grass blade, so please hashtag Safari Life with your beautiful screenshots, and Alice has just said you've all sent lovely ones in, so thank you very much. You all know that I have a strange love for amphibians. This is a bit weird too, but I just think that they're the most gorgeous creatures, and I think that frog clearly proved it. Must be one of the prettiest frogs I think I've ever seen, and also one of the daintiest. It was really teeny and tiny. So we're moving back. We're actually starting to head back towards camp. David said he's hungry and he can smell Amanda cooking some bacon. He says he wants to be first in line for breakfast today. He does not want to get the scraps, you know, just the little crumbly bits of the bacon at the end. He's not having any of that. So, and you know what it is though, what a way to a man's heart is through his stomach, isn't it, David? Right. Is that one of the qualities you look for in ladies? They can cook well? No, I'm only teasing, of course, but I think it's an important skill. Man or woman, you should be able to whip up a good meal. Right, so Tristan has been bumbling around. He's been doing a sterling job today. He sat quite a while with Tumber. I think he's actually moved off, but we'll go and hear it from him.
We have indeed. We've decided to carry on, and I'm just going to quickly check on these lion tracks we had earlier. I haven't heard any updates as to where those lion tracks went, so I feel like if nobody's going to do it, we might as well go and check. You never know, maybe this lion is lying down somewhere and we'll be able to find one of the Birmingham boys and complete then a very successful morning. But it was an absolute treat sitting with Thamba. He was very, very pretty this morning, and he's looked oh so sleepy, so it was quite cute to watch him, and I'm very, very fast becoming very fond of that leopard. He's really is a very cool little animal, so hopefully we'll get lots more sightings. I'm sure he's going to be there this afternoon. I don't think he's going to go far. I'm sure he might just move for some shade, but other than that I don't think he's going to go very far at all, so that's promising for this afternoon. And Tundi's tracks are in that area. The tracks go pretty close to where he is. They go to behind the dam wall, so that area is, unfortunately for us, we're going to have no signal there even if we wanted to. And they are having a bush breakfast there this morning. So for those of you who don't know what a bush breakfast is Chitwa. They do these breakfasts out in the bush for the guests, and they take the chefs and they take the fires and they go and make all the breakfast items out in the bush, and the guests go and have their breakfast sitting under the trees and out and in amongst the wildlife. So they're having a bush breakfast, which means we can't really check too much at the bottom and see, well, down there and see what's going on. But I'm sure Tundi is somewhere in that area. I don't think she can be too far, so I'm sure that she is around. And hopefully this afternoon the two of them will be together, which will be really spectacular, and especially if they go up towards Chitwa Dam if you have that late afternoon light that comes over the dam and on that dam wall, and the two of them are on the dam wall, it's going to be very spectacular indeed. So there we go, that's for this afternoon, so be sure to tune in. So Dr. Rob, you're wondering what the total count is of leopard around here and what we see in our area and how many are related to Karula. Well, let me think now. I'm going to actually have to stop for this one. So in terms of number of leopards that we see, let's count them quickly and we'll be able to then count which ones are Karulas too. So let's start with Karula, because she's obviously, we haven't confirmed that she is indeed gone, so she still might be around. So we'll have Karula. Then her two daughters, Shadow and Tundi. Then Tundi's daughter, Kuchava. Then we've got, I'm just trying to think what other females come from that bloodline. So no other females on that bloodline. Then we've got Quarantine, which is also a Karula bloodline. We've got Tumber, that we've just seen now. Then we have Shivambalana, which is also a bloodline from there. There's Sindile, which is Shadow's bloodline. Who else am I missing? Now, we know of Induna and Mishu, but we don't see them anymore, so that's not here. So, at the moment, currently, just from Karula's bloodline, we have 8. And then, in terms of other leopards that we see Salahesh, who is from the western sector, so that's now 9. Tiani, 10. We see in Chile sometimes, that's 11. Then we've got Anderson, 12. Tingana, 13. Who else am I missing? Mvula, who is 14, and he's pretty much the father of a lot of those cubs with Karula. Inkanyeni and Vatumi, that's 16. Gajima, 17. I think that's pretty much it. So we're about 17 leopards in this area that we see from time to time. Now, some of those are very regular, and some of them are not so regular. It just depends on where they sit in their territories. But 17 leopards is really quite a lot, and we're very, very fortunate that we get to see so many. And the fact that there's 8 from one lineage is pretty incredible. So Karula has been really successful for this area. Probably the only thing is that she's had a lot of boys. So in all of her litters that she's had, most of them have actually been boys. So she's only had, the girls that she's had is Tundi, oh, I forgot about Hasana and Shungile. How can I forget about them? So we've got actually 10 from Karula, and that makes our total count 19. So there's quite a lot of leopards. Now, I can't believe I forgot about the 2 of them. I'm sorry, guys. That's not very good of me at all. So yeah, it's quite a successful sort of lineage that Karula has got. So, I mean, the only problem is that she's only had the 3 girls that have survived that we know of. Now, Shavinzi was another female that was around, but unfortunately she just disappeared. So the last time we heard of her was going up into the Manyaleti, and once she went up into that area, no more was seen of her. So I don't know what happened, if she unfortunately was killed or if she just distributed somewhere else. It's anyone's guess. I'm not 100% sure at all. Now, interestingly enough, I can't see these lion tracks anymore. They don't seem to be on the road, which means this lion has cut off somewhere. And I want to see if it's maybe gone into Djuma. So I'm just going to turn around and just go check. There's 2 junctions that I wasn't really paying too much attention because we were talking about leopards. And when I'm talking about leopards, I often don't pay attention to what's going on, which is probably not a good thing. So let's see if maybe this lion, I wonder if he hasn't gone into Torchwood. He probably has, knowing our luck, but you never know. Maybe this is the lion that we were hearing vocalizing that was around this sort of southeastern boundary. It could very well be. Now, I can still smell leopard here as well. You can smell where Tundi was marking, so I don't think she was far. Remember, this is where we had her tracks to start with, so I really think she must be somewhere close to Thamba. But while we continue our search for this male lion, let's go back to James Henry and see whether or not he's given up on Tingana or if he's had any success.
I have absolutely given up on Tingana. I've given up on Arathusa entirely, and frankly, if Tristan manages to smell where Tundi is today, I will be beyond impressed. So that really will be a turn up for the books. Sorry, just 1 second. There are hyena tracks. Maybe we should just pop across there to the hyena den. maybe something's going on then, although if our luck for today is to hold Seb, we will have nothing there but perhaps an ant or two crawling about on the termite mound. This is one of the most beautiful parts of the reserve at this time of the year, if you're looking for peaceful grass. I was going to show you a butterfly there, but naturally it flew away. Of course, obviously, why would it have stayed? Let's see what else we can find along here. Come on now. Come on, Hendry, you can find something of use, of interest. I know what we're going to look for. Let's see if that chameleon is still in his same position. That's just up the road here. Even I can catch up with a chameleon, surely. Although I'm starting to think that my day is slightly cursed, and therefore it's unlikely I will find the chameleon. Let's have a look. Just round the next bend. Thank you very much for that, Siri. I've just had an update from the final control as to what we're going to do now, which is fantastic. I'd almost forgotten that we were going to look for the chameleon. Now, here is the bush, coming up on the right-hand side. What chances? What chances? And gone. Naturally gone. It used to live on this branch here, and it has now absconded elsewhere. Are you still on the same tree? Maybe the next door tree? No? Nowhere around. Oh, pain in my heart, stabbing through. The wilderness has rejected me so today. I suppose my luck must turn eventually. Oh, I tell you what, there was something else here I wanted to show you a few days ago. I don't know what this is, but it looks to me like some kind of marking. I just don't know how it would have got this high up. Oh. Can you see this black stuff here? It's all over the panicum grasses here, and I'm reticent to smell it, but I'm going to have to try. Because it looks like the paste marks that a civet might make, but on closer inspection it's not sticky at all. And I think what it is actually is a fungus that's growing on the seeds. Is she speaking? No, I think it's the Game Drive channel. I think what this is a fungus growing on the seeds of the panicum, so it's been infected by a pathogenic fungus. Right, well, the chameleon is gone, but of course that was to be expected on a day like today. Let us continue. We'll have, as I say, a little foray past the hyena den. Now, apparently Tayla would like to give you some more information about her morning. I'm not sure what it is, what she's got, where she is, but let's go and find out.
We're dodging animals. We're dodging animals in the bushes. In the distance, we have to go the long way around. something. Right, let's carry on. We're just going the scenic way around now, and I'm just going to keep my voice down just till we're around what we're passing. Now, just a moment ago, James was talking about fungus on grasses. Now, I remember down in the Eastern Cape, there was a fungus that grew on the Panicum maximum, and it was called ergot. And it was an amazing fungus. Well, this is what I was told, because it sort of made the plant quite black, and I don't know if you get it up here. But what the grasses would do is they would actually take this fungus and they would ingest it, and it acted as a hallucinogenic. And that's often what happens when the African tribes want to go into a sort of a spiritual warp of, well, to sort of speak to the ancestors. They normally ingest a psychedelic of some sort, and I wonder if that's not the stuff that's growing on the grasses here, because it does turn them black too. But I have a big note on it and the species of grasses that it likes, so I'll get the Latin name of what that fungus is, and then I'll pop it in, and maybe it will tell us sort of if it occurs up in the low veld region, because obviously the temperatures are very different from up here. Even the seasons are slightly different. We're down in the Eastern Cape this time of the year, going into winter. It's a lot of rain, it's miserable, there's a bit of frost, and I don't think that the vegetation up here is frost resistant. It'll be a bit different, but let's very quickly go past and around through the thick bushes. And of course you do take a risk by walking in this long grass. You wouldn't see a buffalo if it was sitting down. You've got to be careful. Make sure that you're listening out. So if I do go quiet, it's just because I'm listening. It's very important while you're walking. And it is actually quite exhausting to do a walk. Not necessarily physically exhausting, but mentally. You have been concentrating to such a large extent, constantly looking around, listening, that often when you do a 6-hour walk, you are absolutely exhausted. You need to go down and have a little nap to recuperate from something like that. I can hear a car. I wonder if it's not James coming up the road. I don't think he was too far, and he was speaking of coming towards a hyena den, and that's sort of the area that we're moving in now, though I don't want to go to the den on foot. Somewhere just in here, just take the scenic way around. Right, let's keep going. Sorry, Darby, I'm walking a bit quick. Oh, we're going to have to try and get through this gap. Let me help you here. Ted's got the big antenna on his back. Pull some of the bright. Oh, okay, let's walk forward. Very brave of you trying to go backwards through here. Oh, fastener. Now you're wondering if the smell of cooking draws animals towards the bush. Maybe hyenas. Maybe a lion. And typically you see animals coming in at night, sort of when you are cooking around the fire, but I think they're just interested in all the different sounds, and of course some of the smells must be quite delicious compared to a rotting carcass. I'm sure that they would enjoy that. And you often see it that in areas where you can camp and it's open, you'll have lions and leopards and hyenas coming through and actually licking the tables or licking the barbecue grid, that type of thing. So I'm sure they enjoy the taste of it, but whether they'll sort of acquire a taste or when they smell that come running over, I'm not too convinced. I don't think it happens enough out here for it to really sort of draw the attention all the time. Otherwise we just have the lions and leopards that camp all the time, because if you smell what Amanda's cooking smells like, this is the place to be. So I'm just checking very carefully here, making sure. Are you still all right, David? Right. I'm just concentrating very, very hard as we walk through this area. It's going to, well, require a little bit more concentration. So I'm going to send you across to Tristan and see if he has had any more luck after finding Thamba.
Well, I think we've got very good luck because I've got tracks for Hosanna and Shongile, and the Shongile tracks are on top of Tayla's tracks from this morning, which means she's just crossed in here now. There was some squirrels alarm calling, so I think Shongile is somewhere here now. Her tracks are just off to the side here. You can actually see where Tayla's shoe is, and the tracks are on top of that. Hosanna's tracks not so much, so Tayla has stood over those, but the rest of them, the Shongile tracks, are definitely on top. So there you can see Shongile's tracks right in the middle of Tayla's footprint going into Djuma. So I'm going to follow and see where I can find them, but I think these are very fresh because when I drove here this morning there was no sign of these leopards. So hopefully Shongile and Hosanna are walking together somewhere here. Now I'm just going to try and follow slowly and see what I can find. Now I know James is heading towards the hyena den, so I was trying to get hold of him on the radio, but he's not answering me. But he might have a bit of luck if he just checks the water hole south of the hyena den, or maybe even Treehouse Pan. So if James is in that area, Alice, if you can let him know, maybe he's going to get a bit of luck that side. Now I'm just scanning around because there are a few mud wallows, and we know Shongile loves to go to mud wallows, as does Hosanna, and it is getting a little bit warmer now, so I would imagine that the two of them will be starting to look for some shade. Now I'm just trying to see where their tracks go. Like I say, there is a little wallow that was here that they might have gone to, but her tracks are still going here, and she's going up and down in this area. It looks like she carries on back this way, so I'm going to quickly just check and see. I wonder if she didn't turn around here and head towards Twin Dams. That's also possible. Knowing Shongile, she loves Twin Dams, so it could be possible because the tracks go up and down there, and I'm just trying to check now where exactly they go from here, because I don't see any more where I am currently. Is she not lying under one of these bushes here? Maybe she is. See, I don't see any other tracks on this road, so I would imagine that she's turned around there somewhere, or she's gone off the road here. Now there's an impala in front of me that seems fairly relaxed with life. Now, I want to just go forward a little bit and just check there. If she had come up this way, we would have found that the impalas probably would have been shouting at her. But I don't see her. This is definitely very fresh tracks. Like I say, I mean, this is from where Tayla was walking this morning, so this is not even an hour ago that she would have been here. So she must be somewhere close by. It's just a matter of finding exactly where it is. But I do not see any further footprints in this area, which means she must have turned and gone somewhere else. Just want to make 100% sure. Now, she could have gone either one of two ways. If she was traveling in a northerly direction, then she might be going towards Treehouse Pan, which is in that direction, or she's cut back towards Twin Dams. I don't see any other tracks, and there was definitely a place there where she was going back and forth. So maybe she's to that area going back towards Twin Dams. But let's just check towards this road that goes to Treehouse and just make 100% sure. Shouting at her before we arrived, and that's why she's cut off into this section here, so just need to keep our eyes out. But this is fantastic news. It's great when we see the tracks of them coming north into the property, and like I say, there's tracks for both Hosanna and Shongile. Now her Hosanna tracks don't look as fresh. They look this night or maybe early this morning, and I know James had Hosanna tracks around, whereas Shongile's are definitely very fresh. Right, while we check around and see what we can find here and whether or not Shongile is somewhere here, let's go across to James, who seems to have had a bit of luck and has found some large grey animals.
Oh, finally, we've had some luck. A beautiful herd of elephants coming across here at Treehouse Dam. Oh, this is just very special indeed. Hello, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Was all I can say to you for kindly blessing us, because we have had a very, very quiet morning, and without you to save it, well, who knows what would have happened. Isn't that lovely? That really is very special. A huge herd coming along here. Brilliant stuff. Rebecca, you say it's like an elephant school. Yes, I suppose it is a little bit like an elephant school. I think it's more like an elephant kindergarten. Parents are looking after their youngsters, bringing them down to the water. Here's a little one coming to investigate. This will be a young bull. Ooh, he's very close to us. Alicia, you're wondering how many there are. Well, let's try and count them. I would say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. About 23. And there are more coming. So, Alicia, you are welcome, of course, to count them yourself. In fact, I think that's a good idea. If anybody else would like to count them, please do. #SafariLive is how you can tell us how many you think there are. There's a whole nother group coming down from the side there. And Hawkeye, you guess that there are 20 elephants. I'd say that's not a bad guess at all. Oh, that's wonderful. How cool is that? I think somebody got into trouble for behaving like an idiot. This young bull was probably chased in by a female, big cow, who said she was not going to put up with that any longer, and she gave him a great big thump and sent him packing. Kirk, you're wondering if elephants in must will travel in the herd or if they're loners. Kirk, they're absolutely loners. They don't travel in the herd at all. Now look, somebody's given the command and they're moving off. It's that big matriarch up at the front, I think. She's decided there's enough going on and it's now time that the herd moved off. Giving us a little head shake. Young bull there. This is just beautiful. I'm so glad we had this. I was getting quite depressed with the proceeds of our morning. Those are the first three we saw. We saw them a little while back. And they were in the bushes and they didn't seem very keen to have us anywhere near them. And then we thought, let's come down to the water, maybe they'll be here. And here they are. Now the drinking thing that elephants are having to do at the moment is not particularly arduous. There's a lot of water around. It's not that hot. But of course, while this is a wonderful time of year for us and them from a climate point of view, that will change as we go towards the dry season. Now there's a young bull coming past us, the guy who got chased into the water by the matriarch there. Here he comes. Hello. Are you a naughty fellow? Just showing us that he's very big and strong, but not so big and strong that he's prepared to walk straight past us. But also a little bit curious because he's so bored of hanging around with the herd, having to talk to all the little ones. So he's going to chat to us and see what we have to offer him. Now, I mean, while he's quite entertaining, sorry Seb, no, hang on, never mind, stay there. I think the other two are moving off. Now this is really interesting. Seb, there's another herd coming across now from exactly the same direction. Kristen, you want to know why this bull has gone off on his own? He's gone off on his own because he was chased off. He was chased off by the matriarch there. He obviously irritated her in some way, and he's pushed her in. She pushed him into the water. He will absolutely stay in contact with that herd. He can hear them moving, and he'll stay on the sort of fringes of the herd, probably for the rest of the day. But what's really interesting is that there's another herd coming down here, and obviously, I don't know. There's one of a few options here, but either that matriarch that we were looking at earlier is the leader of a much bigger group that is kind of split up as they fed during the morning, or all of the elephants, or a great number of the elephants in this area, are following a specific path for some reason. They're coming through here, perhaps they're heading off to some feeding ground that they know about. But it is interesting that what would seemingly be unrelated herds are following exactly the same path, coming from exactly the same direction towards the waterhole here. That lot's just disappeared there beyond the bushes. Alicia, you say could there be a predator in the water that's dangerous? Alicia, no. I mean, look, it's possible there could be a crocodile here. There's been some social media video going out of late. It's gone fairly viral on a crocodile that grabbed the trunk of an elephant. So I forget exactly where it was. That's the only potential threat an elephant could possibly experience in here. There couldn't be any other predator here. Great white sharks tend to avoid water like this. They like cleaner water. So no, it could only be a crocodile. And I don't think there's a crocodile in here, but even a crocodile would think twice about taking on an elephant the size of the one that was pushed into the water. There are elephants that are missing bottom parts of their trunks because of crocodiles, though, absolutely. And one is reminded, he's a very small baby with this little herd. One is reminded, of course, of the story of the Great Grey Green Greasy Limpopo River by Rudyard Kipling, where the crocodile grabbed the elephant, and the elephant got so irritated that it picked the crocodile up and swung it around and around and around and around, and eventually let it go, and it flew all the way into the sun. I don't think that's possible, though. I don't think even an elephant is that strong. Now, this little herd is skipping the water. It's interesting, but they're definitely on the same sort of path. Now, Chris, you were wondering about the age of the smallest elephant. Well, we've seen some small ones. That smallest one in that herd there looks to me to be about probably 6 months old or so. In the other herd that we just saw drinking over here, I think the oldest was probably just under a year. At least the youngest was just under a year. So I think those are probably the ages of the elephants that we saw. How very wonderful that was. Alrighty. Well, I think we should probably carry on then. I don't think we're going to better that elephant sighting. We are still going to think about trying the hyena den. But first, if Tristan has got further tracks of those leopard cubs, we'll just go and check those pans once more over here, and then head to the hyena den. That was very special, wasn't it? Now, Tayla has just come back from Australia, of course, and that means that she could be carrying all sorts of strange diseases, and so we have put her in quarantine. Ha 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 ha.
careful, James, or I'm going to come close to you and I'm going to sneeze all over you at breakfast and infect you with all my strange Australian germs. No, I promise you, I don't know if I've got any germs. I probably do, but those things that you were looking at running around on the ground, those were crowned lapwings, the bush seagulls that make an absolute noise if you walk anywhere near them or drive anywhere near them or even look too hard at them. They start squawking and alarming. But something that I noticed just as we were standing here, and we're actually quite a fair distance away from them, is when they face us, they've got the white breast and they sort of stand out quite easily. But as soon as they turn their back, sort of brown colouring that they have acts as the most incredible camouflage, and they completely disappear into the vegetation. It was really quite nice because we saw them, we heard them first, and I said, oh, we can do these. I said this to David, of course, and talking to myself, and I went, oh no, I've lost them, and just because they'd spoken around. Were they mating? Did you see those at the back over there? There were two. And in the far right corner, so I can't see what you're looking at, David, but there were two that mated very quickly. Now, they are quite gregarious, as you can see. They do live in big groups like this. That's actually something I'm not too sure on as to their breeding, if they're monogamous or what their story is. I doubt that they're monogamous if they're all living together, so I'll have to do a bit of research about that. I don't know why, I can't remember about their breeding. This is what happens. You get a little bit rusty when you go on holiday and you forget things. And I have to also point out that earlier I was talking complete rubbish when I said that the WildEarthTVs don't have any caterpillars on them, because I've just found one as I was staring down. It's the only one. Look, he's posing beautifully for you too. A little acrea caterpillar on the WildEarth. Now, I've also, as we thumb down on my haunches, I'm looking at the others and I can't see any more. So this could possibly be one of the last ones to go. You better eat up, little fella. Look at it, it's waving at all of you now. Hello, everyone. Because these leaves are not going to be very tasty for too much longer. And of course, as the plants get drier and drier, the less nutritious they are. So of course, this caterpillar is just going to have to eat and consume even more than what it normally would. But thank you for putting on a show, waving at us. Lovely little caterpillar, very friendly. All our lapwings have now flown away. There's not much on quarantine at the moment, seeing as though the wildebeest have gone to the far west. I think they've gone closer towards Zoe's now. The impala, there's only a couple of them because the males keep coming through, chasing the girls around. So they think that they're settled and comfortable in one spot, and before they know it, a big ram comes through and they end up down at the dam. But they have been spending quite a bit of time around there too. Fiona, you're wondering what's South Africa? Okay. For the shrikes, a red-backed shrike, you might be lucky enough to see. Maybe some of the rollers, because I know they go up to Europe, so have a look for the European roller. Whether it occurs in the UK, I'm uncertain, but you will definitely spot red-backed shrikes. Team going out and about. So there are definitely a couple of them, but one of the ones that I would say, because it's one of my favorite birds and I actually miss seeing them, is indeed the red-backed shrike. We're going to keep moving forward back towards home and back towards onto the plains of quarantine to see if we can find anything else. But let's jump back on board with Tristan.
Well, unfortunately, we haven't had much luck with Shongile. She's here somewhere. It's just a matter of finding her. Now, the problem is that we know James is at Treehouse and he's the elephant, so no sign of her there. I've done a little section just along just to check. And the problem, I can't go to Twin Dams because Wendy's not doing very well at Twin Dams. The gremlins seem to come out in her when she's on Twin Dams Road, so I can't get there. So I think her tracks go up and down across the road 2 or 3 times, and it looks like she's headed back towards Twin Dam side. So I'm just checking slightly further north just to make sure she hasn't come this way, but as far as I can see, she's going towards Twin Dams, and that's where she was going to pop out. But it means that this afternoon she will be around somewhere. She's not going to have gone too far, and those tracks are very, very, very fresh. They're on top of all the squirrels, the birds, everything. So she's just before we got there was when she was there. And I checked around that mud wallow. I went and walked around there. I couldn't see any signs. I checked some of the thickets for shade because it has gotten quite warm now. So now that the sun feels warmer, head straight there and we can try and see if we can't track down little Shongile this afternoon. If she doesn't pop out somewhere ahead of us, that is. But it's good news to see that she's there now. There's definitely tracks for both of them, so. And I'm hoping that they are together. That's what I'm hoping, and that's why I haven't found them yet. But let's see how we go. Unfortunately, I'm going to go to a bad signal area trying to find these leopards, and while I do, let's go across to James and see how he's doing with his elephants.
Okay, we're just popping across to the hyena den now. We've got a few minutes left, and we're going to hold thumbs that the elephants were a harbinger of our changed luck. Are you ready, Seb? There are going to be thousands of hyenas leaping around on this den. Babies, yearlings, in-betweeners, males, females, possibly aardvark caught unawares inside, pangolins eating the ants off the hyenas, maybe a few giant scaled plated lizards, possibly a dwarf mongoose Orth 74, and then there was nothing. Yep, absolutely nothing. I think this might be the very last time I come to this den site. It is too painful to my heart to keep coming here and finding nothing. No cubs, no adults, just the hole goes through the termite mound, whistling with tumbleweeds. We'll stop here and just look. Are you in there? Even though your mother's not here, you can come out. We won't harm you, I promise. Could you please stick your nose out of the hole? Possibly? I actually think I saw some movement there. I'll just do a little whistle. No, I think that this might be described as the quintessential lost cause, as it were. They're just not old enough to be out yet on their own. Still, driving past here and not doing any harm will have the effect of just habituating them to the noise of the vehicles and our voices. And eventually they will feel comfortable enough to be out with us. I believe Tayla still has her disease, and so she's still on quarantine. Let's go and find out what she's going to do about her disease.
Oh yes, I'm not moving very quickly, but we have found a bird that was evading us yesterday, and that, of course, is a yellow-billed hornbill. Now, there's actually quite a few of them around here at the moment. That one is now having a scratch using its lovely little claws. I'm sure that actually must be nice when a bird scratches itself. I actually never thought of it like that. And quite flexible as well, being able to reach their legs right behind their heads. Very impressive. There's a couple of impala also darted about, but the grass is so long here that you can almost only just see the tips of the head. What is going on down there? Why is that branch bouncing about? Can you see that branch down there? Far away. There's an impala just walking past. I don't know if there was a vervet monkey perhaps in that tree, or maybe it looks like quite a low-hanging branch. Maybe an impala or an inyala or a kudu was stretching up and feeding from that leaf, but I just saw it bouncing about. Oh, there are monkeys. They're very far away. If you come and stand here, and basically in line where that tree was, but you see there's a fallen tree behind it. I can see the branches. There we go. They're all bouncing at the back quite high up in that marula. So I'm not sure if they're baboons or if they're vervet monkeys. I did see long tails, but not that that really is a clue, because baboons have also got fairly long tails. Let's see if we can hear. Maybe we can hear a... That was my terrible attempt at a vervet monkey call. No one's responding. Can you see anything in the trees and the leaves? I think they could be vervet monkeys, though. I just have a suspicion. Although baboons have a knack for falling out of trees as well. They're pretty good at that and tumbling down. No, I can't hear anything or see anything, but this area is normally filled with primates. I didn't get that name. Sassy girl?
Dotty girl.
Dotty girl. Dotty girl. Now you're wondering what animals could we expect? Darcy. Darcy girl. I have a cousin named Darcy. I should have heard that. So you were wondering what animals should we expect to see as the cooler weather sort of comes about? Well, the insects are going to start to disappear. So no more mildreds, aka millipedes. They're going to start to go home now. The frogs will get less and less. The butterflies there'll be a couple around. We might still see the citrus swallowtails and the monarchs. But other than that, it's going to be quite scarce out here. What we will see a lot more of are the big cats, though, because as the vegetation starts thinning out, the big herds of animals join up and come passing through, and hopefully we'll get the return of the buffalo. That'll be one group of animals that we could potentially see more of, as in the winter months. They form much larger herds, which then means that as this happens, normally lions start following those big herds. So that's something that I'm particularly excited about. I keep saying that. I'll wait for the big herds of buffalo to return, especially down south. We were very fortunate to see massive herds, and sometimes 2 or 3 big herds on the property at any one time. So that was really, really quite fantastic. My goodness, it's really turned out to be an absolutely beautiful day. The clouds are all burning away, the sun is warming up, but unfortunately we are coming down to the final minutes of the show, and we've got only a couple left, so I think that we should end it with our dear friend James, who will see you all off.
I'm trying to find Tayla and her disease and find out what's going on here with her, why she's quarantined herself, what has happened to her. Is perhaps her... There she is. Look, I see. She's looking for a lift, but of course we're not going to give her a lift, because she's either showing us her thigh, which of course would be disturbing, or she's showing us her injury, which of course is equally disturbing. And I think we're going to stop right here, simply because I don't know what she's got, you see. She's been, of course, you see, she's now starting to indicate rather disturbing behavior, and that's possibly why she's on quarantine. She could have some sort of oh God, she's running now. This is going to be terribly scaring. She just said, "Hi James, I don't make much of a noise." She's obviously never listened to herself. She is capable of making quite loud noises at times. Anyway, I also wanted to point out, finally, David's shorts. David, your shorts, please. I told you that they were quite impressive. All right, everybody, that's it from us. We've got about 15 seconds left. We're going to pack this in. Tristan's behind us in the queue for the bacon. We'll get there first. We'll run Tayla over on the way there. I hope you've had a lovely drive with us. We will hopefully see you this afternoon at 3:30. Bye-bye.
Hi, James. Oh.